Why aren't American women wives anymore? Now, not only statistics, it shows that less and less couples are getting married in America. You don't have to be a genius to see that if you are an American man. Now, there are two main reasons for that. And one is really more of a cause that became the effect, right? And we're going to discuss that in just a second. Let me take this out of my ear. But most importantly, what we're going to do today is we're going to hear from an American woman who will actually tell us why. This is very important. This is very important to hear this from an American woman because, some American women are finally sort of figuring this out. And this is why the entire red pill movement exists, because obviously we want to wake men up first to what's happening. And the only cure that I believe is there now for you guys is to get the fuck out, essentially do what I have done and quite a few other men. I now live in Thailand, and for over 2 years. And not only there are plenty of wives walking around here, and of course I want to say that there are many nuances, and not every single girl here is a wife material, but you also have many other choices. Sex is not a problem here like it is in America and other Western countries, so it is not a bad life at all. Now, the first problem that I mentioned in the beginning is that men, American men, are essentially now almost 100% simps, right? And if you're simp, you're just going to breed the generation of women, which I think there's two generation of women now, that are not wife material, right? Because that's just those two don't coexist. But the real cause of all of this is the fact that American women just don't have strong male figures in their lives, because usually they're fathers, right? And even so there's tons of single mothers, right? As the two generations now raised by a lot of single mothers. But even if there's a father in the family, a lot of times he is a simp because he probably was raised by a a single mother or another weak father figure, where really the woman was the sort of head of the household. So it is a vicious circle that almost impossible for some of these men to get out of. That's why I invite you guys. Well, there are to come here to Thailand. And by the way, if you want to know how to do that, I put together the only comprehensive guide that you will find anywhere at the millionmanproject.com. The link is also in my bio, on how to do it. You can be an average Joe in America, and at one point you can get up and move to Thailand or Philippines or Colombia or Cambodia or Brazil or whatever, and your life will never be the same. I don't think men realize that they're in the matrix right now. This is why the movement is called the red pill. You guys don't even realize how impossible your choices are and why these women are not really no longer wives. So let's take a look at this video. And by the way, this girl is very nice. I it looks like she is coming to realization of what the problem is. Now, you've seen a lot of these women on my channel as I do review some of these videos, but unfortunately after they realize what happened, they don't always fix it. As a matter of fact, most of the time they don't fix it, and because they don't know how. I wish this girl nothing but the best, because I think maybe she will figure it out. Now, I did look at her other videos. She does not appear to have tattoos. Now, usually tattoos is the reason why you should not date a woman that has tattoos, because it's unlikely that she ever had a strong male father figure in her life, because if she did, she would not put the tattoos that obviously her father does not want on her. She would respect that man enough to not do things he believes are not good for her, which tattoos is absolutely one of them. She does have a nose stud. Now, I mean, nose rings are absolutely a deal breaker as well, but she does have a nose stud, which, like I said, in some cultures are okay. So in American culture, I would say yellow flag. She does have a what do you call it? Tongue ring. And I am not a really that in opposition to that. To me, it's not any type of a flag. So kind of a background on this girl. So let's get to her video and see what she has to say. We're gonna go to the beginning.
I am a woman who comes from a family of all women, and I hate when y'all make me agree with men. I hate it when men are right. I'm not gonna say they're right, I'm gonna just say they're not wrong.
All right, so not a good start, generally speaking. This is already, as you can see, a woman who is just doesn't even want to say that the man is right. I mean, one of the most important skills as a fucking wife, right, is to be loyal and supportive to your husband, and a lot of times admit when and accept that the man is right. There's a matter of fact, the whole point of marrying a guy is to marry someone who is a leader, and part of being a leader is a man who makes good decisions most of the time, is if not all the time. And that's what a submissive wife would do. A submissive wife would submit herself to a man who can take care of her, make the good decisions, not only for himself but for her and for the future family if they decide to have kids, right? Now this woman already, as much as I like her, trust me, it's going to get better in the video. It will get better. But she cannot just fathom to just agree with a man or with men in general, right? You see what the problem is already, right? All right, but let's keep going. And I promise you it will get a little better.
It's good enough, right? Recently, there's a man that I never really wanted to lose in my life, whether we were together romantically or just friends or whatever. I never wanted to lose that man.
So here's another problem that I'm seeing almost right away is that, she had this man in her life, which obviously, at least from the rest of her video, and even now, it sounds like she wanted to keep as a potential mate, right? Because she said whether romantically or friends. So that means that she kept him in a friend zone. They might have hooked up and then the friends again and whatever. So this is what women do, right? First of all, they don't recognize American women. They don't recognize when a husband material is in front of them, right? They friend that guy. By the way, if a guy is good enough to be a friend, he's definitely good enough to be a husband. Almost guaranteed, right? Most of the time. There are some exceptions. But secondly, what she probably did? She said, yeah, this guy's nice and he can be my friend. And once in a while we hook up, but I probably can do better, right? And the fact is, most of these women can never do better. They're actually lucky to have this guy in their lives, right? And I guarantee you, that if you're an American woman and for some reason you're watching this video, I guarantee you there's at least one guy in your life right now who is a husband material. And you know what? Soon, and you probably he's probably a simp. He's probably waiting in the wings because no strong good man would ever agree to be friends with a girl when he actually really wants her, and he wants to pursue a real relationship with her. So that's and then those men leave and then you have nobody, right? So that's what happened here. I'm making a lot of assumptions, but don't forget, the reason I review these videos is not to go after this particular girl. Like I said, she's very nice, but because she represents just the vast majority of women in America.
I lost that man. He described to me the exact way that I made him feel. Like in this instant, I felt like this. In this instant, I felt like that. And when I tell y'all I cried for 40 days and 40 nights, okay? Not only did I cry because I was fucking heartbroken that I was losing the man, but like I never in my life wanted to make anyone feel like that. And in fact, the things that I was or wasn't doing, I did it in hopes of not hurting him, but it had the exact opposite effect on him. Every man.
All right, so let's break that down, right? Now, I do now. Kudos to that man to actually what it looks like. He basically told her off, right? And this is what Western men don't do enough of. We don't tell women off enough. I do it all the time. Now, of course, you lose a lot of leads, right? I will meet a girl in at a coffee shop or in a dating app or in different ways, right? And she will start behaving in a certain way where instead of like just unmatching her or instead of ghosting her. And I still think ghosting is disrespectful no matter who does it. I never ghost women or people in general. um You would just basically tell them. Now, a lot of times they're not going to like it, right? Because I'm like the first guy in like 5 years who told them off, and they think that I'm the problem, right? However, if more and more men do that, then all of a sudden women will start thinking, oh, there's quite a few. I'm losing quite a few men this way that I like. Maybe I should listen to what they have to say, and maybe I should fix it, right? But it will take more than one guy per 5 years to do that. So I a lot of times I basically explain women, and I don't yell or scream or whatever I do. I just basically say, I'm sorry, I don't allow women to disrespect me this way. You can only do it once, and then you're out of my life. So I'm sorry, we cannot see each other anymore, or I'm sorry, we're not going to talk anymore. And a lot of women just don't even say anything; they just move on. But like I said, at some point they'll start asking. But some women do ask. I said, well, I don't think I acted in inappropriate, and then you explain to them. Again, some will listen, some won't, but this is where sort of the education here has to be in numbers, right? If enough men tell women like, hey, listen, this is not appropriate, right? Like, for example, you guys probably heard me say this many, many times. When if a girl doesn't say thank you for me even just buying her one drink, by the time she gets home, I will never see her again. And I will tell her that I do this all the time. I said, I'm sorry, I had a good time. However, you didn't bother saying thank you when I signed the bill. You didn't say thank you for the date when you got home. I cannot date someone who doesn't have basic manners and doesn't have simple appreciation for things that a man does for you. And that's it. I explain it in a very nice way, and I basically move on. Again, half of these women will just never. Some of them are embarrassed. Some of them don't give a shit, and some of them will try to gaslight. She was like, "Oh, I said it. You just didn't hear it," and all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, it is unacceptable, and you have to call them out on that. Even when you open a door to a woman, right? Which I don't do anymore for Western women. If I see Western women coming in, don't give a shit. But it is a pleasure to hold the door for a Thai woman who will give you her feminine energy back and quiet you and say thank you. So it's just, and I remember even in America, if I would open the door for a woman and she, goes through and doesn't say thank you, I would call her out right away. I would say, well, excuse me, ma'am, this is where you say thank you. Remember, I opened your door 7 seconds ago. Absolutely call them out in their face. Now, here's a comment in the live chat. American women are wives of the government, and there's an explanation below. The government is her first husband. The pastor in her second husband. Her boss is her third husband. Her work husband is her fourth husband. Her bastard son is her fifth husband. The dog is her sixth husband. I, you know, we got to make a t-shirt like this. That is true. And the problem, of course, with getting married in America is that as soon as you get married, and as soon as you enter that contract, which essentially marriage is, the other party, right, the woman, is immediately offered money by the government, right, to break that very contract. I just filmed the video last night when a lawyer who does a lot of prenups said that, I do a lot of prenups, tons and tons and tons of prenups. And the people who almost never come back to me with a divorce are the people that signed a prenup. Isn't that interesting that when a woman agrees not to fuck a man over, if they get divorced and essentially legally steal a lot of his money, more than half sometimes, all of a sudden those women last much longer as wives than women who basically, I promise you nothing, right? So it is true. And here in Thailand, and this is one of many, many reasons that I'm here. If I want to get married, I can get married here with very, very few repercussions if I ever get divorced. Now, there are tons of guys who are foreigners who come here and they absolutely do everything wrong, and they end up married and divorced and lose more than half of their money in their houses and all of that stuff. You can still have a horrible American story here in Thailand and many other countries. And this is the part of my course, right? You'll have to improve yourself as a man before you show up here, right? I mean, I have an entire module in my course specifically how you have to improve, how you have to gain self-respect, how you have to build boundaries, how you have to build self-confidence, and how you have to offer value to women. And make sure that they see it from a second that they see you. All of that is hard work, and this is why I put my course together. Like I said, well, let me actually give myself a quick plug here.
If you want to ditch modern women and move abroad for more traditional relationships, go to themillionmanproject.com, take my most comprehensive course, and change your life.
I wasn't lying. This does change your life. This really does change your life. All right, so let's continue with the video.
Men that I've ever dated have ever said, like, I don't know how much you like me, or I don't know if you like me, or like, I don't even know how you feel about me. And to me, I was just like, what am I not doing? Like, I don't know, I like you. What am I not doing that other women do? And no one was ever able to describe the way that they felt, but this man specifically described everything. And y'all, when I cannot stress it enough, like, tore me apart. So to give you guys a little context on the way.
Yeah, gentlemen, don't forget to tear them apart. No, be graceful, be respectful, right? Because when you explain, when you're ratchet, when you're cursing or whatever at a woman or anybody, no one's listening to what you have to say, right? If you want your message of criticism essentially to make it, you essentially never want to tell a woman that you're angry or you're mad or you're upset. That doesn't mean shit to them. Disappointed. Women who are good women will absolutely feel genuinely bad when they know a man that they respect or want is disappointed in them. You know, it's true. And if a woman is not upset with herself when a man is disappointed with her, well, she wasn't a wife material in the first place. So absolutely make sure that to tell women that in very nicely what it is that they're lacking, the fact that you are not going to allow a woman to disrespect you or treat you this way, and what your boundaries are. That is extremely important. But at the end of the day, because a lot of these guys goes, oh, I'm sorry you're mad at me. No, not mad at you, just disappointed. you know that hits much harder a good woman. But if a good woman wasn't good in the first place, she's not going to give a shit about what you say no matter what, right?
I grew up, because I know somebody's gonna ask. Let me give y'all my little family tree, okay? My dad.
All right, so this is where it starts, right? This is the meat here really starts, because she's going to tell you how she grew up. And the problem, I can pretty much tell you how she grew up, right? A woman who grows up with a strong father figure, with a strong positive male role model, uh, usually makes a pretty good wife, right? Except for there's how many of women are like that in America anymore. Like I said, either these single mother were raised by single mothers, or raised in a family with a simp father. And I got to tell you, man, I don't even know personally that many men in America who are strong, positive male figures. I'm really having a hard time to think of one. And that's the problem, gentlemen. Men up.
Its mom, my grandmother, had two children. My aunt, who was my yaya, who I grew up as her being like a parent to me. My yaya has no children. I was literally like her child. I slept in the room with her. She got me up, got me ready for school. She came and picked me up from school, took me to doctors.
All right, you got that, right? So neither one of her parents were actual parents, right? So right away, this girl has no idea what a happy, good, gender rolled couple is, because her parents looks like opted out of her life almost immediately, and she was raised by her aunt.
Disappointments, everything that a parent would do, my aunt was doing that. And my dad was kind of like,
Well, this is where she is incorrect. Her aunt is a woman, so she cannot do what a parent do. You need to have two parents, first of all, because you don't just need a female parent and a male parent. You need to see how those two parents interact with each other, how they live as a couple, how they fight, how they make up, how they spend romantic time together, how they fight to fight for the better future of the family together, right? It's not just having a penis, a vagina for your parents. It is what they do with each other. And this is why when you have a simp of a father, right, which again, most American women who are even lucky to have a father still present in their lives, that's what they see. They see a woman dominating a man. You see a man having absolutely no balls, simping, taking the disrespect, a lot of times literally physically abused by the woman, and that's how they grow up. They think that's normal. So in this case, no, her aunt wasn't doing the job of the parent, because parents together needs to have a man, and a strong man at that. So she's already kind of not fully understanding what happened.
like an uncle. Like I remember playing Yahtzee with him, playing Monopoly. When the car broke down, he walked me to school,
That's
stuff
her
like that.
father.
But she was like my parent. After second
Right. So I don't know why she wouldn't spend as much time on this, or maybe she will in the future. So her father was just basically just kind of like a dude who's hangs out once in a while with her, like she's a friend, right? Doesn't give a shit, obviously, right? So just not a father figure at all.
grade, when I stopped going to my grandmother's house through the school year, like my mom and my sister was just driving me to school from where we were, my dad left. My dad moved to Canada, and we didn't really have a relationship. Like
Right. So as I just mentioned, the father wasn't really present really that much in the first place, and then he ended up moving to another country. Even if that's really the case, who knows? But there you go. So she essentially did not have a father figure ever.
I would call him on his US phone number, and then he would call me later from a restricted number, like whenever he got the missed call. That was pretty much sums up our relationship. I went to visit him.
Yeah, which is no relationship, right? So essentially, she has no relationship with her father, and we'll find out if she has any other positive male figures in her lives, because sometimes, and this does happen where a girl doesn't have a father figure, and sometimes good fathers like die of cancer, or something happens to them, right? And a brother or the uncle takes over, or a grandfather takes over, and absolutely make sure there is a strong positive male figure in this woman's life, and she still grows up knowing and understanding what a good man is, how to respect a man, right? The skills that are completely missing in American women. This is why I left. I knew that there is just no way in my lifetime, because I'm almost 50, so I'm not 22. I'm not willing to wait for another 20 years until the situation corrects itself, and I hope it does. And I really hope it does before AI and robotics take over and make women completely useless. I already believe that, at least the single American women are quite useless. The only thing that they provide is sex, which is not really a problem, generally speaking, especially here in Southeast Asia. Um, and even in America, if you're willing to, invest, if you know what I mean, into that. So, I mean, tons and tons of, prostitutes of some sort of in America. I mean, I really do believe that the majority of women in America, single women, are some sort of a prostitute one way or another. There's in some ways, they want to be compensated for their time with men that they choose in their lives, even though they might be thinking it's a relationship, it's a boyfriend. But you really, when a compensation is required to be with a woman, there's only one word that we have for that, right? So this is why I just do not see a way how I could meet a good girl again. It was never a problem before, in America, that would be a wife material. And let's continue with the story why.
Him one time in Canada. I think I was in high school. I was either in 8th or ninth grade. It was so awkward, y'all. Literally, it was so awkward. I was ready to go. And then he took me to this like apartment complex, this big ass, tall ass apartment complex. He's like, oh, I gotta go pick up something. I was outside for like 45 minutes. Come to find out, that was his actual apartment. When I was there, we were staying in, this is way before Airbnb. We were basically staying in an Airbnb. And how I know it is because when we went in there, it had like furniture and stuff, but it's no personal belongings in this place. Like, it wasn't any photos, it wasn't any clothes, it wasn't anything. It was literally like an Airbnb. So yeah, that sums that up.
Yeah, so as you can see, the way she's talking about her father is like he's just some sort of a fucking loser she probably doesn't even want to be friends with. And you know why she's talking about him this way? Because he's a fucking loser, right? Definitely not a good father, just a loser. So if this is essentially the most important man in your life and he's a loser, and that's just how your life has always been, do you really think this woman can have any respect for men or treat them well? Right. And this is why she's so shocked that the most important man in her life left and told her that she's been a bitch to him. Right. and didn't treat him well, didn't treat him with respect, probably crossed her boundaries, and probably also offered almost nothing in return anyway. So, and it all comes down to the same thing. This is why when you see tattoos on women, it's so important. Tattoos is most of the time a really good indication that a woman never had a strong positive father figure in her entire life. And if you're one, as you should be, she won't even know you're a good man, and she definitely is not going to respect you. That's why tattoos are such a huge red flag, because some guys go like, "Well, but I like tattoos." Well, that's a matter of taste, usually poor taste, but that's not even the reason. It is usually what's under the tattoos, the reason behind it.
My dad, he has two sons that were 26 and 27 years old when I was born. My dad was 45 when I was born. With all that being said, my brothers weren't really around when I was growing up. Like, yes, they came to visit me, but it was just like a family member visiting. They didn't feel like a part of my immediate family. I don't even think I've ever even been to my brother's house, like either one of my brothers. Like, to this day, if I have gone to their house, I'm too little to remember it. Don't know. So that's my dad's side.
All right. So as you can see, she does have two brothers that could have played a father-like role because they're much older than her, right? As a matter of fact, they almost could be her father, right? Um, but again, they weren't around because they probably weren't raised the certain way, and that's the problem. Now, I do want to make one point here, is because as you can probably see, she is black. Now, I have a bit of a more sort of experience with this because when I was in America, I pretty much only dated black women. And that's kind of the reason I also went to Kenya last month. As also, I wanted to go to an all black country where I'll be like one of the very few white people. I think every white person should experience that at some point. But also, I thought, hey, maybe if I find a nice girl, I'll stick around for a little bit longer. And then, if things go well, maybe we'll come here to Thailand, because there's zero chance I would live in Kenya. I didn't know that at that time, but once I showed up in Kenya, I was like, oh, there's no fucking way I'm living in this shithole. It is a shithole of a country. Sorry. I rarely agree with Donald Trump, but it's one of those times when I do. So actually, tomorrow I'm going to have a live stream about another girl who is breaking down specifically black women in America, right? So I also don't want you guys to like, of course, let's not lie to ourselves. This is a pretty stereotypical, right, story. And as I dated black women and was, in Oakland, California, Sacramento, California, Houston, Texas, right, a really, really large black community, and as I was part of it, this was not an uncommon story, unfortunately, right? Not an uncommon story at all. But what I don't want you guys is to get sidetracked, because this is not a black story. Yes, does it happen in black communities more? Yes, and it is a problem. We're going to talk about it tomorrow. But this is just a typical American story, right? So, like I said, don't think that, oh, this is only black women. No, 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 no. This is like pretty much the majority of women in America. The stories go a little bit different, but the gist is usually the same. So I just want to make sure we don't get sidetracked that way.
My mom's side, my mom's mother, my grandmother, she had my aunt. My aunt has two daughters. My older cousin was 18 years old when me and her younger sister were born. I am 3 months older than her younger sister, so we kind of grew up like sisters. But my aunt never married, was never in a relationship or anything like that. My older cousin,
Well, so that's another thing, right? Okay, so her aunt is not even a good female role model, right? Never was able to get married. She says she's never been in a relationship. Girl power, single girls, all of that. So that's another. Not only she didn't have any positive behavior from a man, she didn't really have that many positive behaviors from women in her family, right? So it's a double whammy.
then later on, got married, but I've never really spent time with her. I think I've been to her house maybe once or twice in my entire life. Like, she was kind of like my brother. She would stop in to visit, but that was it. Like, there was no real relationship there. My mother is the middle child. My mom had my older sister. She was 14 when I was born. The last relationship I remember seeing her in was when I was like 2 or something. They broke up. I never saw her in any relationships. My mom has never been in a relationship. And then
you're seeing the pattern, right? You're seeing the pattern. strong, independent women with attitude who don't need no man, right? I mean, this needs to be taught in schools, right? This needs to be shown pretty much everywhere around America, because this is such a typical story of an American woman who essentially, it was given no chance to be a good, possibly a good wife, right? She's been shown nothing but, first of all, no good examples of what a wife is or husband is, right? She's essentially seen nothing but really shitty examples of what a wife is and what a husband is, right? So how is she supposed to navigate the world, right? Now, luckily for her, it seems like, and I don't know, she looks like in her probably 20s still, maybe early 30s, right? Luckily, a good, strong man in her life. I don't know how strong he is because he was in the friend zone for a while, but it's not very clear. Finally told her, finally left her life, just doesn't want to be part of her life anymore, left her, and actually told her in such good terms that it really hit her, right? um, what was wrong with her, and that's why she was smart enough to trace it all to her upbringing in childhood. And if she realizes this, hopefully hires a therapist, some of these women can still get out of it. She's young enough. That's what I'm hoping for America. And by the way, if you're watching me from Europe, things are not that much different in Europe, and you know that, right? When I'm saying American women, I mean Western women most of the time. So don't feel that great about yourselves there in Europe. You're just as much trouble. And I'm talking about Western Europe. Eastern Europe is a little different. We talk about it, in other videos. But it is a problem. That's why, like I said, I've one of the best decisions I've ever made for myself was to come here to Thailand. Especially, I was at that time 46, right? I was like, well, I'm not wasting my years anymore, because I wasted 5 years. I don't want to say wasted, by the way. I still had a great time in America, but I don't want to, you know, deal really with Western women. And by the way, let me just tell you guys, the benefits of coming here is not that you all will have, you know quite a good number of women who are still around here who are wife material, right? You will. The bigger benefits is to being away from American women, being away from Western women. Just that itself is a pleasure. And then, by the way, there's so many choices here. Then you can decide. You can find a wife, you can find a girlfriend, you can find a wife and a girlfriend. That is acceptable in some families here. Absolutely. You can have 5 girlfriends, or you can just have professionals handle your needs for the rest of your life, right? There's just so many choices that just getting married is not really number one goal anymore. Like, I came here with like, oh, I got to get married. Now I'm like, I'll get married if I find the right girl. And for me, the right girl is the one that doesn't speak English, right? She can't understand Beyonce and Taylor Swift and other con artists, or have Western friends, or watch Western movies, so she can get the virus, right? So meanwhile, I'm learning Thai. Actually, my Thai lesson is another couple of hours. So that's how I'm planning on getting a good girl. But if I don't, believe you me, my dating life has changed. And again, I had a great dating life in America, but it's changed in an amazing ways just by being here. And that's why I spent so much time putting this together. The millionmanproject.com is to make sure that when other men feeling the same way, they at least know what it takes to change that, right? And so check it out, themillionmanproject.com. But let's continue watching this lovely lady.
My grandmother had my uncle. He struggles from severe mental health issues. So he's been around, but we've always had to care for him. He hasn't been able to be like a functioning family member in the sense of the way you would think an uncle would function in the family. So I say all that to say that's it.
Now, it's unfortunate that her uncle has mental health issues, but again, instead of watching him taking care of his wife, her aunt, right, she watched the other way around, things happening the other way around, right, that people caring for him. And it's unfortunate, so I'm going to give them a pass. But it is what it is for this girl, just like it is what it is for a lot of women in America who just don't even have a chance. Nobody taught them how to be wives, and a lot of them had never come to this moment that this lady's at, right? She realized she lost yet another good man out of her life. She analyzed it. That man was good enough to tell her why without, making her feel like shit where she wouldn't even listen, right? She did listen. And now it looks like, and by the way, every time I do this video, I always message these people in the video and say, would you like to be interviewed? I would like to interview you, right? So far, every single one of them declined, which also tells you something about what's happening. But like, if I was able to interview her, I would love to know, like, okay, kudos for realizing all of that and tracing it exactly where the problem, is. But what have you done to change that? Because a lot of women, and like I said, we watch a lot of videos together here on this channel. When a 30-year-old, 30-something-year-old or 40-something-year-old woman, basically says, I can't believe this, I'm lonely and I'm single and I see all the mistakes that I've done, and I still want to have love. And then they go on to essentially say how whatever it is they're going to do about it is probably going to guarantee that they will die alone, right? So one thing is realization of what's happening. Another thing is actually correcting the course. And unfortunately, a lot of these women don't correct the course. And again, who's going to tell them? You think that women like this, and she's like on the kinder side, are going to sit here and watch videos like mine or someone else is explaining to them how to be good wives? Probably not. They're probably going to go to their girlfriends who are just as damaged and have no fucking clue how to be wives, and it's going to be an echo chamber, and that's how they're going to live. So it is a very, very unfortunate situation. But all right, let's continue.
No one has been married. My yaya was married, but they were separated before I was born. My mom hasn't been married. My aunt hasn't been married. My dad wasn't even married. Like, I have never in my life seen a relationship play out. A good one, a bad one, just in general. Everything.
She is completely 100% right. She's coming to this realization, right? It all comes to the fact that she just never seen, as she's saying, just even any marriage, right? Now, seeing a bad marriage, by the way, is also bad, right? When your relationship between your parents is bad, or just your father is a simp and your mother is a boss chick, that is already damaging. You'd rather be an orphan than having a bad example that's going to be burned in your brain. So, no, you only want to see good marriages when you're grown up, and that's what your parents are supposed to be there for, right? But she's coming to 100% root cause of the fact why American women are not wives anymore, right? And she's realizing it. She's 100% right on the money.
Thing I know about relationships and from men are from what I see on TV or what I see from someone else's family. Like when I
Right. And this is another good point. Like, okay, so first of all, when she sees relationships in other families, guess what? They are unlikely to be, gender rolled man and of the household, submissive housewife, like unlikely, right? And of course, what she sees on TV, and this is why I don't date Thai women who speak English, is because they can watch that TV if they speak English, right? And what's shown on TV, and I think there's even a YouTube channel dedicated to like watching movies or TV shows and showing how men are simping, right? In those TV shows and movies, because I mean, it's I mean, think of even a typical commercial. They could be advertising a fucking laundry detergent, right? And what happens? They'll show you this big house and a nice car and a nice big kitchen that the husband has worked for and provided for the family. And here's the wife, housewife, right? And the husband comes in after a long day at work, and all of a sudden, oh, you're dummy. You don't know what to do with the clothes that has a stain on it. But you know who does? The genius housewife, because she's so much smarter than this guy that provided everything and goes to work and talks to adults all day and makes important decisions and has an education. Now, that guy's a fucking moron, right? You know who's really smart is a housewife who's sitting on home all day and talks to other housewives and her own children and other children. She's the smart one, right? So that's why she's able to wash your clothes, because you're too fucking stupid, right? That's the gist of a lot of commercials in the West. So when you see those relationships in the West, in movies, commercials, TV shows, it's poisoning her as well, right? But kudos to her. I mean, she is like, this is why I chose this video when I watched it. I usually don't, I try not to watch the entire video, but I just wanted to see if she's hitting on the all right points. And I wanted to see, for you guys to see it, because she really is hitting all the right points.
I was in high school, I babysat for my coaches and I was close to them. So they were married, I would see that dynamic, but like you don't get to see it on an every day-to-day basis. It's
Yep.
different. I have no idea like how to navigate a relationship. I don't even know what it feels like to live with a man, if I'm being honest, like of any sort. Romantically, platonically, I have no idea how it feels to have a man in your life, you know, in like a position of authority. I've never had it.
Yeah, yeah. She doesn't know what it's like to have a leader in a household, and she's like, what it's like to live with a man. Listen, if your daughter, who's has a strong positive male figure, her father, in everyday life, right? You see a lot. It's important to live with your father, right? Because you see him sometimes come from work and be in a bad mood, and something happens, and see how he handles that, right? Does he punch holes in the walls or into the, into her mother face? Or does he go somewhere and say, listen, just leave me alone for a couple of hours, okay? And then she sees mother leaving the man alone, and then he comes back and boom, rebounded, right? Oh, when a man's dealing with something and he needs some time, you give him time and he'll rebound, right? That's what is important to see. Or what's bad to see is, for the boss chick mother, and the sim father, when he comes from work and she's just nagging him, and God's like, oh my God, I just need a couple of hours away, right? And I can't get a fucking away from my own wife that's supposed to be giving me peace, but she's just giving me more stress, right? That's bad to see. But she's right. She never lived with a man, and not just romantically, right? With any man, to see what a 24 hours looks like in a man's life and how he handles it. She's absolutely correct, and it's very sad.
And it has affected me. And when that man was on that phone describing the way I made him feel, because like I said, men have always told me that, you know, I don't know if you like me, I don't know how you feel for me, I don't know this, I don't know that, but they've never described it. When that man was on that phone describing it, it broke me down so bad, y'all. I was like, I never want to make anyone feel like this. So that's when I really started learning, like, why do all men say this? Like, this is.
So again, I can't emphasize this enough. Kudos to that man who left her, unfortunately, but also was honest enough and looks like kind enough to explain to her everything that she's done wrong, right? Like I said, I encourage all of you guys to do it in every situation. As I mentioned earlier in the stream, if you open a door for a woman, which again, I don't do for Western women here at all, but if you do open a door for a woman and she comes through without saying thank you, call her out immediately. Tell her immediately what she's done wrong. I know it's not welcomed. I know she's probably not going to be happy, but do it. Absolutely. The problem is, in America, men have become such sims that part of it is that they allow women to be disrespectful. They allow women to violate their boundaries. They have no respect for themselves as men anymore. So that is something that needs to change. Before, if we expect women to change, I'm sorry, if you guys expect women to change, you have to change yourselves. You have to man up, grow some balls, have some self-respect. And most of you in America don't. American men don't. Now, a lot of you are listening to this and go like, how dare this motherfucker tell me I am a man and I have respect. I'm sorry. No. Every time, like, I even look at my friends who live in America, right? Or some of my friends who came here, even to Thailand or Philippines or some other countries, Mexico and stuff like that. And I see how they run their relationships. And it's not good. Just complete lack of self-respect. That's obviously why they allow their wives to disrespect them. I mean, I know some of my friends who have housewives do absolutely fucking nothing, while my friends are slaving away trying to provide for the wife and the kids. And I don't say anything, because what are you gonna say? If your wife is a horrible fucking wife, you should leave her immediately. Like, what do you do? But it's a problem. And like I said, it has to start with men. It has to start with you guys.
A man that I didn't want to lose. How am I losing this man? Like, what am I not doing? What is going wrong? God damn, it's hot out here. But
Yeah, you should try living in Thailand, girl. It is hot in here, but it's also the perk, right? I'm never cold. I am never cold. Like, I just went to Africa, right? Africa. I was like, what, 3, 4 hours away from the equator in Kenya, in Nairobi. And man, I was freezing. There was like 12 degrees Celsius there, which is what, like 50, degrees Fahrenheit. And everywhere, there were no heaters there. There were no heaters in the cars. There were no heaters in coffee shops or malls. And there was no heater in my luxury apartment that I've rented on Airbnb. I was freezing. There was 2 days when it was specifically cold, and I was freezing for 2 straight days in Africa. When I got to Thailand, I was like, listen, no matter what, I will never be cold here. So I love it. I love the tropical climates.
When I figured it out, my whole point of this whole thing is to say it all stems back to being a woman that was raised around all women, and not just all women. I'm talking strong, opinionated alpha women.
She is 100% right. And then this is what I'm trying to say. When you have strong boss chicks, opinionated women, this is the worst kind. They're not wife materials. They're not girlfriend materials. I wouldn't even have one as friend with benefits, you know? And of course, when you don't have the positive, strong, male figure, you don't know any better, right? I guarantee you she is exactly like her mother and her aunts that she's described, and hopefully she'll get out of there. But again, this is not about her. This is about the fact that most American women are like her. That is the problem.
All of them, every single one of them. There's not a passive woman in my family, and we're all single. So yep, do with that information what you will.
And thank you for that information. And you should do something with it, with that information as well. Like I said, I have reached out to her. I hope she reaches back to me and we can actually have an interview. Um, I because like I said, it is not, obviously the red pill movement is for men, right? Like I said, for men to see what's happening to them, because a lot of them don't. But the red pill movement should be for women as well. Remember Kevin Samuelson? Unfortunately, he passed away. This guy who essentially had this podcast that he would videotape, and it was specifically for black women, but still, he would tell black women off in terms of why they're single. And he would do it in such an amazing balance of straight talk, but still quite respectful, that it really hit those women pretty hard, I think. Now, obviously, nothing has changed. I probably shouldn't say nothing has changed. And, let me know if you guys are watching me from Europe or America. Do you feel like things are changing a little bit? Because, like, I remember when I was leaving, I was living in Houston, Texas, but knew I was leaving America. And, I would sit I would even go to a bar or a lounge, and I would see how, and a lot of times it were like all black lounges, because again, I dated black women pretty much exclusively in America. And I would see that at the bar, there would be nothing but women. And a single guys would come in, look at the bar, look at the dark corner with just a quiet little spot, and they would go to the quiet little spot. It reminds me of this funny video that I just saw the other day where the title is manage your risks wisely. I'm like, what the hell is this, investment or whatever? And the guy's standing waiting for an elevator, and there are two elevator doors, right? And at some point, both elevators door open at the same time. You know how that happens sometimes? And one elevator has a pretty girl, standing there. And another one has this black guy. He doesn't have a shirt on. He's got tattoos, and he's got like a pit bull on a fucking chain, right? And the guy looks at the woman, guy looks at the black dude with a pit bull, and he goes right into the elevator with a black guy and a pit bull, right? Because who's going to be more trouble, right? So that's epic. I probably should repost that, because it's kind of funny, but also in a sad way, because it is true. So I would be very curious to hear from this woman, to see if she actually did something herself with that information, because this is a master class on what American women need to do to avoid what's really coming to them, which is cats and antidepressants. And I love cats, don't get me wrong, but there's a couple of things why women have to be more concerned than men. Obviously, this is a problem for both sexes, right? We don't like being single either. But What we really need, the basic minimum requirements that we need from women, can at least be purchased, right? Especially here. Okay. Um, but what women really want cannot. They cannot, even when women just want sex, they cannot purchase it per se, because part of them even having the most like, you know, unemotional casual sex still has to involve some genuine human connection, right? um and that's it. I mean, a man can hire every, you know, the services to provide for him that he needs, that together in some ways will be put together as a wife, right? A housekeeper, a masseuse, a chef, which, you know, you don't really need a chef here in Thailand or really anywhere, if you go out. So, but women cannot do that, right? Women cannot do that. And a lot of people say, like, well, do you really want to die alone? And I think this is not a really good way to phrase things, even though I've done that before myself, and I've been kind of changing, saying that, is because I'm not afraid of dying alone, right? Dying alone is relatively quick part of your life, and there's always going to be cute Filipino nurses around you. Okay, that's not the worst part. The worst part is, you know, living alone is for women, right? For men, a lot of times it's a blessing. Like, I myself have such a good life by myself that I'm not really sure, even if I meet a really good woman, that I'll be that excited for her to move in. I will still do it, but you know, but for a woman living alone, it's, especially in her 40s and 50s and so forth, it is a problem. It is a big, big problem. And that's why you guys see me review these videos when these women make them in their 40s, crying, literally crying about it. And I feel almost bad for some of them, you know, and it's because this, right? So thank you to this wonderful lady who hopefully, well, I think she's cute. Like, by the way, this is a type of girl I would date, right? And she's not probably looking her best, but I've seen some of her videos on her channel. I would absolutely date a girl like this, in terms of looks. This is absolutely my type. And, you know, yet I wouldn't if she behaves like a modern American woman. And this is why I left America. I realized that it doesn't matter if I like women visually. And that's what's happened in Kenya as well. Trust me, there were a lot of beautiful black women in Kenya. That's for sure. And yet, because they had such an American mentality, and I already made a videos about that, that I was like, man, I'm gonna go back to Thai women and now. Thank you. Goodbye. You know, but I did say hi to giraffes and zebras. That was an amazing experience in Kenya. So um, all right. So now tomorrow, I'm going to review a video of another black woman who is talking specifically about, you know, black community and being single in black community and stuff like that. Now, normally, if I was still in America, and yet again, another reason why I got the fuck out of there, if I, as a white guy, would do that, what I'm just about to do tomorrow, and talk about black community and problems in black communities and dating black women as a white guy, I would probably lose my job if I had a corporate job, right? I would be canceled. You know, depending on how popular my channel is, which luckily it's not right now yet, you know, somebody would hunt me down and throw shit at my house or whatever, you know. But luckily, I am one of the very few men who can actually do it. I've dated black women. I prefer black women. And yet, I'm going to talk some shit about what's happening in the black communities in America, specifically about dating and how they're being raised. Like I said, this story is very typical for all American women, but it's more typical in black communities. And the reason, and I'll explain some reasons why this is more typical in black community than it is in other communities in America. You know, and I'll give you plenty of examples. I'll give you one right now, actually. No, I'm going to save it for tomorrow. So, all right, guys, thanks for hanging out with me. It is 1 o'clock, 1 p.m. here in Bangkok, so I'm going to go and get some delicious Thai food and a freshly made smoothie, and it's all going to cost me $3, one of many other reasons to come here. And I'm going to do one more plug for myself, if you don't mind.
If you want to ditch modern women and move abroad for more traditional relationships, go to the millionmanproject.com, take my most comprehensive course, and change your life.
All right. And guys, seriously, go at least look at the The link is in the description, themillionmanproject.com. At least look at the table of contents. You will see how thoroughly I thought everything through for you, right? From what a good woman is, to how to improve yourself, to how to pick the country where you should come to, and how to test it out. And I gotta tell you, man, I I I I will change your fucking life. You know, you will literally come here and thank me in person and buy me lunch. That's, you know. All right. This was fun. Thank you to this lady. I hope she reaches out to me and we can have an interview. Other than that, I will see you guys tomorrow.